Hello again, and welcome to another installment of Tennessee Leaders. Today, we're very fortunate to have with us Katherine Foster, who is an accountability coach with Petra Coaching in Franklin, Tennessee. Katherine, it's a joy to have you with us today, and I just want to thank you so much for talking to the students and interacting with them and teaching us a little bit about the DISC profile and the importance of it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Good to have you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Well, why don't we just get kicked right off and start talking a little bit about DISC and the importance of it. As you spoke with the students, you really brought out the importance of not only knowing your profile or your tendencies, but also that of others. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. I stated this earlier that I go into different companies all across the United States, and what I have found to be the number one problem in business or issue in business is around communication. It always comes back to communication because we all interpret information differently and we perceive information differently. And so if you have a general understanding of not only how you communicate but how others communicate, you can then communicate more effectively with one another. Going to that D style, they love to take action. They like those challenges. They can sometimes come off as harsh or abrasive, whereas somebody of, that S style, they like that stability. They want everybody to be in harmony with one another.
Yes.
And so to have a good understanding of how an S and a D can communicate effectively with one another is extremely important, and will also help you be a better leader or a better mentor if you can understand those things.
Absolutely, and really kind of accommodating each other or kind of understanding those styles.
Very,
is so important.
very much so. Very much so. I would say that it's great for you to understand your style, and could even be more important for you to understand somebody else's.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I was particularly impressed as you kind of talked about emails and interacting with people, because I've gotten those.
Absolutely.
that are from, and as we discussed earlier, I tilt toward the D and the I as well.
Yeah.
But even as a D, there's people who can be very curt.
Very much so.
To the point.
Very much so.
And that could be mistaken for rudeness, or it's at least not the intent.
It's not the intent, because it all comes back to how we communicate, how I personally communicate. I'm of that I style, and so the example that I gave to the students is, if I send you an email, I'm going to ask how your weekend was. I'm going to put some emojis, some exclamation marks. You can probably feel the enthusiasm when you read that email.
Right.
And, somebody of a D style would probably respond to that with 3 bullet points with action items that they need from me.
True.
So they're not going to answer your questions.
True.
And it's nothing to be taken personal.
Yeah.
That's how they communicate. Somebody of a C style is probably going to go into much more detail and spell everything out word for word, because detail is important to them. They like to process things. They like to analyze things, and so details are very, very important. So it can come off very rude and very curt when somebody responds with just a no. That is not the intent at all.
Well, it's interesting talking about that, because sometimes I worry about my own emails, because I've got that, it's not even a balance, it's just sort of full tilt I and D.
Yep.
So that interactive and that decisive, or however sort of characterize that D style. But so I'll notice a lot of times what happens is I'll open with good morning, hope you're doing, all of that, and then all of a sudden it'll switch. So I'm always kind of afraid this sounds a little disingenuous. It's not, because I really do. I have that interactive, but then now let's get down to it.
Exactly.
And now here come the bullets.
Yep, you're exactly right. And somebody of that I or that D style, so they share that action results. They share those priorities, but also somebody of that I or S style, they share things like collaboration as well. And so so it all kind of plays in together. We are a mixture of all 4 of those styles.
Yes.
But having that understanding of somebody who, I'll say an I and a C, somebody who loves that analysis. They love processes. They love detail. Whereas somebody of that I style, details are not always not always our friend, because we just want things to be done and we don't want to take time.
Oh, on the D or the
I to
or
really
the I,
process
yeah.
those, like say that C or that S night.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that it's been so helpful because noticing that whether it's our spouse or our
Oh yeah.
others in our lives
Mm-hmm.
that we interact with on a daily basis, it's so helpful to sort of come at that from their viewpoint.
Very much so. And I had my husband take it, so it's very interesting when you have spouses take it or friends take it, because it gives you a better understanding of how they communicate
Right.
and how they interpret information.
And explains why they're wrong.
You're exactly right. It sure does. It absolutely does. That's what I tell him all the time.
I know, so now I see.
Yes. Another thing, this is probably my favorite part of the DISC assessment. It will begin to tell you what motivates you and then also what stresses you out. And so, somebody who they might thrive in more of that chaotic environment, where somebody else, it completely stresses them out and makes them much more reserved and want to, kind of crawl into a hole.
To pull back in.
Yes, to pull back in, because things that are very, fast-paced and always changing, and, somebody who, I'll go back to that S or C, they like, to have that home. They like that
Yes.
stability. They like those processes.
Yeah.
An environment like that, they might not fare as well in, because that's not something that motivates them.
And they tend to be more introverted.
They do.
Yeah.
Yes, they sure do.
And that's I think something very important to understand is those different types of personalities. And introverts can be great leaders.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
It's just a different way of approaching it.
It is. And we, I'll give this example. When we look for coaches or accountability coaches inside Petra, we look for folks that are a little more outspoken. They're not afraid to insert themselves in a
Yes.
conversation. I love the example of a rubber band. We're a mixture of all four styles. We can flex into any
Yes.
of those styles. You might be a little more tired after you do so. And we actually have a coach who is a C.
Oh,
And she's an amazing coach. She's awesome. She's great at her job. And at the end of the day, after she stands up in front of a room and, she's coaching all day long, she wants to go back to her hotel room and sit by herself in complete silence. And that's perfectly fine.
Yes.
So you're exactly right. Leaders, they come in all of those different styles. And you can be great no matter what style that you are. And, it's not just one or the other.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So let me ask you, you had the first question you asked the students was, or one of those first questions regarded the where they were and sort of their, are they looking for a job, internships or permanent positions? And of course, most of them are,
Yeah.
and they're right in that place. How do you see using this, whether it's DISC or other types of analysis, in approaching a job search or interviews? How do you see that as useful in that regard?
So, I would say that the first interview that you do is most likely going to be a phone screen, and the person that you're speaking with is probably going to be a little bit more personable. And so being able to recognize that, so somebody who is on that more of a personal side will probably lean more towards that I or that S.
Yes.
And then when you actually get into that interview, you're not going to be interviewing with the same person,
Right.
most likely. 9 times out of 10, you're not going to be. You're now
Absolutely.
interviewing with, your hiring manager,
Yes.
the CEO, COO, somebody of that status
or the head
there.
of that department.
The head of
or
that department, you're
Right.
exactly right. And they're probably going to want to get more into the nitty-gritty of, are you the right fit for this job?
Absolutely.
And so being able to pick up on that body language, their tone of their voice, the choice of their words, can help you quickly assess what style you think they are. Might not be
Yes.
exact, but it'll put you in that area.
And their manner.
And their
how they're-
mannerisms,
yeah.
absolutely. And so then you can begin to accommodate those things. If they are of that D style, you don't want to ramble on. You want to, be very efficient and effective in your answers.
Yes.
Where as somebody of, say an I style, you want
It's
to
gonna
bring
be
more of that
difficult. Or from,
Yeah.
if you're the interviewee,
Mhm.
if you're the ISL, that'll be difficult because you need to adapt. Or
You need to
adjust
adapt. You're
to
exactly
that.
right.
Yes, adapt to that
to
person.
to those quicker, those
Yes.
shorter answers and get right to the point in your answer.
Yes.
Whereas somebody of an I style, they like for you to bring more of that personal side into it.
Right, and they'll
Yeah.
kind of join in the interview.
Oh, yeah.
It'll go too long.
It
and
might.
It'll
It
be
might.
one of those.
Absolutely.
But oftentimes they'll click.
Yes.
So that's great
Yeah.
advice and
Yeah.
very good. And I think this goes along with your rubber band and kind of
Yeah.
being able to adjust.
Mhm.
What I've seen with a lot of leaders, they may be of, as you said, any type,
Mhm.
but they can adjust because their time is so limited
Yes.
and they need to kind of get to the point.
Mhm.
They can force their way over into that more. Maybe it's more of a D, or maybe it's more of that, they can do the analysis later, or
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
So they'll seem a little bit more abrupt
Mhm.
because they're kind of putting themselves in that position
Exactly.
at times.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
And we have what we call our natural and our adaptive state.
Mhm.
So if I'm at home, my disc assessment, my dot might not be in the exact same place as it
Mhm.
would be if I were in that work setting.
Interesting.
So we always encourage folks that when they take this, to take it while they are at work, or it could even be
Ah.
while they're in a class, to
Right.
put yourself in the mindset of being at work, getting things done, because DISC, what I like about it, it's very specific to your workplace profile. So it's your observable behavior while you're
Yes.
at work, whereas some other assessments like maybe the Myers-Briggs and Enneagram, things like that, are more personality based, where DISC is around communication. So we like for you to be in that mindset, because you can change. You can adapt a little bit depending on what situation that you're in.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, Katherine, thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
for being
I'm so
with
glad
us.
to be here.
Well, it's
I'm
an
so glad to
absolute
be
pleasure.
here.
I know the
Yeah.
students enjoyed it, and
glad.
look forward to working with you in the future.
Absolutely.
And for those who need a coach, need an accountability coach, and I think that it's a lot of us.
Yeah.
then,
Yeah.
be sure to look Katherine up, Katherine Foster with Petra Coaching in Franklin, Tennessee. Katherine, thanks again.
Thank you
It's a
so
real
much.
pleasure.
Absolutely.